Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng mga kadete nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, sa lahat po ng mga respectable deans, faculty and staff, sa lahat din po ng mga instructors po natin, mga review lecturers, sa lahat din po ng mga retakers, pati na po yung mga first-time takers sa criminologist licensure examination, sa mga registered criminologists who are listening right now, welcome and welcome po sa Bikuino. Ang Bikuino po, isang platform po ito sa YouTube na nagbibigay po ng libre at the same time comprehensive and align na po sa latest table of specification. Maraming salamat po mga kadete sa lahat po na nag-promote sa channel po natin, pati na po yung mga kadete na nag-avail po sa Bikuino book o yung Bikuino review material. Tapos na po tayo sa Title 8. Yung last po na episode, Title 8 pala yun. And continuation po nito is Title 9. Ang Title 9 po is Crimes Against Personal Liberty and Security. In this episode mga kadete ang focus po natin is only on crimes against personal liberty and security. Yung next title po ilagay po natin sa next episode. Sa mga baguhan dyan bagong subscribers, again, I have to inform you na ang discussions po natin, we divided into different episodes for the purpose of delivering a more comprehensive discussion, at the same time understandable on your level. Kasi po, pag ilagay natin, if we will put everything in one video discussion, nako, it will not be very comprehensive. So, mas maigi po i-chunk po natin into different episodes. Alright? Now, without further ado mga kadete, unang krimen po, which I discussed already in the previous episodes po, itong tinatawag nating kidnapping and serious illegal detention. Punta tayo diretso sa elements para makasave po tayo ng time. Una po dito, dapat tandaan natin, pag kidnapping and serious illegal detention po ang crime, ang nag-commit po yung offender is a private individual. Tanong, ano ba ang definition ng private individual? Dalawa po. It connotes two meanings. Tandaan po natin Unang meaning, private individual refers to any person who is not part or who is not working in the government. Pag ikaw empleyado ka, pero hindi ka connected sa government, hindi private individual ka. Pangalawa, ang private individual may also refer to those persons who are working in the government, but these persons do not have the authority to detain or to order for the detention of any individual. I repeat, dito tayo magka-confuse sa second meaning Ang private individual in the second definition may also refer to those persons who are working in the government, mga public employees sila, pero wala silang capacity or authority to order for the detention or to detain mismo on a certain individual. Let us say, for example, pag clerk of court, ang clerk of court may authority ba to detain? The answer is no. Pag public teacher, may authority ba to detain? The answer is no. Pag public accountant ka, you are probably working in the municipal hall. Ang tanong ngayon, public officer ka ba? Ang sagot, hindi po. Okay? Matatawag po silang private individual. Bakit po? Because even though they are working in the government, they do not have the authority again to detain or to order for the detention of an individual. Sino ba yung may authority to detain? Yung judges. Pangalawa, yung agents of persons in authority, yung mga police, NBI, PDEA, so on and so forth. Mayors and even barangay captains, they have the capacity or the authority to detain or to order for the detention of an individual. Sila lang po yung public officers. So again, ito po ang definition natin balik-balikan ko po para at least po makuha talaga. I'm sorry dapat kong i-repeat for several times. Private individual connotes two things. Una, yung hindi empleyado sa government. Pangalawa, empleyado ng government pero wala siyang authority to detain or to order for the detention of an individual. Yun po ang definition natin tandaan nyo po yan. And kindly jot down notes mga kadete jot down notes. Number 2, nag-kidnap or nag-detain another or any other manner depriving the liberty of the person. Number 3, that the act of detention or kidnapping must be illegal. Tanong, kailan po magiging illegal yung detention ng isang tao? Magiging illegal siya pag hindi siya pasok in 3 legal basis. May 3 legal basis po para ang isang tao legal na pwede siyang ma-detain. Una, commission of the crime. Pangalawa, violent insanity. Naging buang, naging violent siya. Pwede siyang ma-detain. Legal yon. Pangatlo, nagka-contagious disease siya. For example, nagka-COVID. Whether you like it or not, you have to be confined. Yung confinement mo, legal yan. Okay? So, 3 lang po ha. Commission of a crime, violent insanity, contagious disease. Now, pag hindi siya pasok sa 3 legal basis na yan, na-detain siya pero hindi pasok sa 3, edi yung detention is considered to be illegal. Okay? Pangapat, that in the commission of the offense, any of the following circumstances will be present. Any ha, kahit isa or dalawa dito pwede. Una, kidnapping or detention lasted for more ang nakalagay dyan ha, more than 3 days. More than. Ibig sabihin, 4 days and above. Okay? Pangalawa, simulating public authority. For example, nagpapanggap ka na ikaw yung mayor. Nagpapanggap ka na ikaw yung judge. Okay? Number 3, mayroong serious physical injuries inflicted on the victim or may threat to kill the victim. Pasok yan sa serious illegal detention. Then, pang-apat, pasok sa serious illegal detention pag ang tao na isang biktima is considered to be a minor, except pag ang nag-detain is our parents. Pero pag hindi, pag minor yan, ibig sabihin, 17 years old and below, minor siya, basically pasok siya sa serious illegal detention. Pangalawa, pag female yung biktima. Pangatlo, pag public officer. Okay? Yan po. Now, pag may isang element po dito na hindi pasok. Okay? Pag may isang element na hindi pasok, for example, pasok yung 1, 2, and 3. Okay? 1, 2, and 3. Private individual, nagkikidnap. Pangatlo, illegal yung pagkidnap or pagdetain. Pero, yung number of days on the detention is only 3 days or 2 days, hindi siya pasok sa serious illegal detention. Magiging pasok siya sa slight illegal detention. Okay? Slight illegal detention na pag isa sa mga elements ang kulang. Another example, let us say, ang offender, private individual, nag-detain siya. Illegal yung pag-detain niya. Pero, ang kinidnap niya is not a minor. O, let us say, for 1 day, dinetain niya yung isang tao, hindi minor. O, basically, pasok siya sa slight illegal detention. Again, pag wala dito pag may detention pero wala dito sa circumstances may kulang, pasok yan sa slight illegal detention. Now, what if ang nag-commit ng krimen is hindi private individual? What if yung tao considered to be a public officer? Okay, let us say, ang nag-detain mismo is police officer. Ano ba yung kaso niya? So, ang kaso po, pag public officer po ang nag-commit is considered to be arbitrary detention. Pag private individual, serious illegal or slight illegal detention. Okay? On the other hand, may mga qualifying circumstances po tayo for penalty to be death. Una, purpose po is to extort ransom. Number 2, when the victim is killed or dies as a consequence of the detention. Number 3, when the victim is raped, when the victim is subjected to torture of the humanizing act. Pero wala na po tayong death penalty. So basically, malower po ito sa reclusion perpetua. Okay? So again, ang sabi ko kanina mga kadete pag isa sa mga circumstances hindi po present, basically ang krimen po is slight illegal detention. Okay? Next, unlawful arrest. Ano ba itong unlawful arrest? Again, I already made mention about this in the previous episode. Pero balikan lang po natin mga kadets ha. Ang unlawful arrest po, ito po yung mga elements. Ang offender arrests or detains. Dalawa ha, pwedeng nag-arrest siya or pwedeng nag-detain siya ng isang tao. Pangalawa, that the purpose of the offender is to deliver him to the proper authorities. Take note po sa pangalawa. Pag inaresto ang isang tao for the purpose of delivering him to the proper authorities, Posible po ang kaso dyan is unlawful arrest. So long as the arrest or the detention is not authorized by law or there is no reasonable ground thereof. Sabi ko kanina, 3 grounds lang po ang pag-arrest or pag-detain ng isang tao. Una, commission of the crime. Pangalawa, violent insanity. Pangatlo is contagious disease po. So basically, pwede po. Pero pag hindi pasok, o basically yung arrest or detention is considered to be illegal. Okay? Now, tandaan po natin na ang tao po dito who committed the crime could be any person. Okay? Pwede siyang public officer or private individual who does not have any authority to detain or order the detention of a person accused of a crime. Could be somebody who can be liable with this crime. Again, mga kadete, ang ibig sabihin po ng private individual under the context of serious illegal detention, slight illegal detention, and unlawful arrest would mean 2 things. Una, yung tao na hindi nagtatrabaho sa government. Pangalawa, pwede siyang public employee pero wala siyang capacity or authority to detain or to order for the detention of an individual. Kaya ang sabi dito sa notes natin, offender is any person. Ano ibig sabihin ng any person? He could be a public officer, pero public officer or public employee na walang authority to detain or to order for the detention. Okay? Or pangalawa, yung private individual. Next, ang arrest po or detention na tinutukoy po dito is yung warrantless arrest. Okay? Pangatlo, in Article 125, yung delay in the delivery of detained person to the proper judicial authorities, the detention is for some legal ground. While in unlawful arrest, the detention is not authorized by law. Again, ano po ba ang pagkakaiba sa delay in delivery at saka yung unlawful arrest? Sa unlawful arrest, ang pagka-aresto ng isang tao, hindi siya legal. Pero sa delay in delivery, legal yung pagka-aresto niya. Only that, you did not file the necessary complaint within 12, 18, and 36 reglementary period na binigay ng batas natin. For example, yung krimen niya is only alarms and scandals. Pero dinetain mo yung tao ng several hours, more than 12. Di ka nag-file ng complaint and you did not release the person. Patay ka ngayon sa delay in delivery. Kasi po, binigyan ka lang ng 12 oras para makapag-file ka ng complaint. Pero again, legal yung pagka-aresto ng isang tao. Sa unlawful arrest, talagang illegal po yung pagka-aresto niya. Number 4 and the last, pag private individual, nag-arrest siya ng tao, nag-detain siya, pero din niya dinala. He did not transport it or bring the person to proper authorities. Di niya dinala doon sa police station. Dinitain niya lang probably sa bahay nila. Ang krimen po could either be slight, illegal detention, or serious. Depende po sa circumstances. Okay? Now, pag ang isang tao hindi private individual, public officer, ang krimen niya po is arbitrary detention. Again, ano ba yung public officer dito? Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga tao na may capacity or may authority to detain or to order for the detention of the individual. I am referring to judges, police officers who are agents of persons of authority, NBI, PDEA, pati na po yung mayors and barangay kapitan. Okay? I hope klaro. Next, kidnapping and failure to return a minor. Simple lang po ito. Ibig sabihin, isang parent or guardian, he entrusted his child to a certain person. But that person did not restore or bring the child back to the parent or back to the guardian. Ano po ba yung kaso? Kidnapping and failure to return a minor. Okay? So, pag, let us say, ikaw yung parent, you are working probably in one of the private institutions in your city. Tapos, may nani ka or may yaya ka. So, you entrusted your child to the yaya. But the yaya failed to restore or failed to bring back the child to you. as you as the parent or guardian. Ang yaya po could be liable for kidnapping and failure to return a minor. Again, ang minor po na definition dito is under Republic Act 9344. I'm referring to those persons aging 17 years old and below. Okay? Klarong-klaro po yan mga kadete ha. Next, punta naman tayo sa slavery. Okay, ito. Posible itong lalabas sa board examination. Slavery, the offender purchases, sells, kidnaps, or detains a human being, and that the purpose of the offender is to enslave such human being. Again, take note of the word to enslave. To enslave the person has been purchased, binili, or sold, or being kidnapped or detained. The crime is slavery if the offender is not engaged in the business of prostitution. Pero pag ang isang tao, probably you kidnap him for the purpose of forced labor, then slavery po ang krimen dyan. If the crime is white slave trade, pag again, if he is engaged or if the person is engaged on the act of prostitution. So, meaning, a person has been purchased or sold or detained or kidnapped for the purpose of prostitution. Ano po ba yung krimen? Ang krimen is white slave trade. Okay? Now, tandaan po natin mga kadete that under this crime, ang employment po or custody of a minor with the consent of the parent or guardian with the consent of the parent or guardian, although against po siya sa child's own will, hindi po siya considered as involuntary servitude. Okay? For example, ayaw ng bata na magtrabaho siya sa isang tao. But again, may permission from the parents or guardian. Hindi po siya pasok sa involuntary servitude. Pero, let us say, si Maria, who has a child, he forced the child to work to Pedro in order to pay the debt that he owed from Pedro. Nako, magiging ano na po yan, magiging slavery na po. So pag, let's say, may 1 million na utang si Maria kay Pedro. So, ginawa niya against the will of the child, he forced the child to work with Pedro o to work under Pedro para at least mabayaran yung utang niya na 1 million. Anak ko, ang kaso dyan is slavery. Pero pag wala namang utang, let's say, the child has been instructed to work with Pedro even though wala siyang utang doon, and the child does not like it, basically wala pong involuntary servitude. Magiging involuntary servitude lang yan or slavery pag may utang. Tapos yung bata, pinapatrabaho para mabayaran yung utang ng isang magulang. Okay? Next. Pero again tandaan mga kadete, pag ang isang tao has been purchased or kidnap or detained for the purpose of prostitution, ang krimen po is white slave trade. Lumabas po ito sa previous board examination. Next, exploitation of child labor. Ito hindi ito kasali sa TOS, pero I'd like to bring this up. That the offender retains a minor in his service, that it is against the will of the minor, that it is under the pretext of reimbursing himself of a debt incurred by an ascendant or guardian or person entrusted with the custody of such minor. Indebtedness is not a ground for detention. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Ang pagkakautang po, hindi po siya legal ground para ang isang tao ma-detain. Kaya nga yung mga palautang dyan, nako, good news po ito sa kanila. Nobody has been detained because of a debt. Nang dahil sa utang, hindi ka po ma-detain. Okay? So, dito exploitation of child labor, ibig sabihin, ikaw na isang tao, may isang minor under your service. And that minor is working against his or her will. The purpose of working with you is to pay the debt, probably sa kanyang magulang, or probably coming from his ascendant. So, pwede po exploitation of child labor. Ikaw mismo who allow yourself to have this minor work with you. Yung magulang who permits the child to work with you, sila po liable po sila ng slavery. Okay? So again good news sa mga palautang dyan, wala pong hindi po ito ground for detention ang utang po. Next, services rendered under compulsion in payment of debt. Elements that the offender compels a debtor to work for him, either as household servant or farm labor. Number 2, that is against the debtor's will, that the purpose is to require or enforce the payment of a debt. Let us say, for example, si Mariagen, may utang siya 1 million kay Pedro. So sabi ngayon ni Pedro, pag hindi ka magbayad, dito ka na lang. Magtatrabaho ka sa akin. Let us say, maging dishwasher ka for let us say 20 years. Tapos against the will of Maria yan, ang isang si Pedro po will be liable for services rendered under compulsion in payment of debt. Pero pag again absent po yung element number 2, wala yung number 2 na element. Ibig sabihin, si Maria mismo voluntarily suggested to Pedro na, Pedro, kung maaari, I will work with you for several years para lang mabayaran yung utang ko. Ibig sabihin, may consent. Hindi po against the will of Maria. So pag hindi against sa will ni Maria, basically walang krimen po dito. Okay? Ang point po dito mga kadete, ang bottom line po dito is yung voluntariness of an act. So pag walang voluntariness on the part of the debtor, yung nagkakautang, ayaw niya pero pinapatrabaho siya para mabayaran yung utang niya. Basically, yung tao po will be liable. Yung nag-allow for that labor to happen, even if it is against the debtor's will, magiging liable siya sa services rendered under compulsion in payment of debt. Okay? So, ang gagawin mo dyan, pag ang isang tao may utang, punta ka lang doon sa Korte Small Claims, pwede ka pong mag-demand. Pag may mga properties ang nakakautang sa'yo, so you can probably through court order maka-confiscate po yung lahat ng mga ari-arian to pay in payment of the debt. Okay? Next, abandonment of person in danger and abandonment of one's own victim. Okay? Elements po dito that the place is not inhabited. Ano ibig sabihin ng not inhabited? Okay? Ibig sabihin ng not inhabited or uninhabited area, ibig sabihin, wala talagang tao. Okay? It's probably a solitary place or probably it could be in traffic investigation, it could be a roadway. Talagang walang tao na pwede makapagtulong sa biktima. It is considered to be uninhabited place. Pero tandaan po natin, magiging uninhabited pa din po, pasok pa din po sa definition ng uninhabited. Even though there are so many houses, pero yung possibility of receiving assistance is considered to be remote or challenging. Let us say for example, may mga bahay-bahay nga, pero yung mga bahay po surrounding the place, walang tao. Okay, talagang walang tao. So, ang place na yan is still considered to be uninhabited. So long as the possibility of receiving assistance is considered to be challenging or considered to be remote. Okay? Next, the accused found there a person wounded or in danger of dying. Ang nakalagay dito wounded or in danger of dying. So pag ang wound niya is only minimal, ay naku, hindi naman po. Ang punto dito is dapat lethal yung wound on a certain person. Pag naputol lang naputol lang yung kunting part niya sa finger and he can manage to walk, so basically there's no need for you to render assistance. Ang point po dito is dapat lethal po yung wound. Next, the accused can render assistance without detriment to himself. Ito, medyo confusing ito. Ano yung sabihin ng without detriment to himself? Ibig sabihin, yung word na detriment, ibig sabihin damage or harm against yourself. Let us say, a person is dying but he is bringing with him an M16. that could be detrimental if you will render assistance. Why detrimental? Baka barilin ka, di ba? Or let us say a person is an insane, a violent, insane individual. And helping him could be detrimental to yourself. So, pwede po, you will not render assistance. Pero pag hindi naman detrimental, let's say for example, nurse ka, may training ka sa first aid, pero you did not render assistance, that's going to be a ground for criminal liability. Next, the accused fails to render assistance. Number 2, by failing to help or render assistance to another whom the offender has accidentally wounded or injured. Ibig sabihin, ikaw yung nakapag-inflict ng injury or wound to the victim. Ang nangyayari po ito, especially during traffic investigation or traffic incidents. Let's say, ikaw yung nakabangga in a solitary or uninhabited place, but you failed to render assistance on the victim, on the person that you inflicted with a physical injury. Pwede ka pong liable dito. Next, ang number 3 po, unique po ito kasi ang pinag-usapan dito is bata. Hindi po yung wounded or person who has been inflicted with a physical injury. Ang bata na tinutukoy dito is less than 7 years old. Now remember mga kadete na immaterial po on the part of the offender kung alam niya or hindi niya alam ang age ng isang bata. Immaterial po yan. So, ibig sabihin, bottom line po dito, pag nakikita mo na talagang bata siya, and probably the child is below 7 years old, you have the legal responsibility under the law to bring back the child to his family or to bring the child to the proper authorities. Let us say, for example, nangyayari po ito sa community natin, newborn baby. Tapos yung mga magulang, mga talagang walang humanitarian value, humanitarian consideration, ang mga magulang probably are not that ready to take the parental authority and responsibility on the child. Ang ginawa, iniwan yung newly born baby doon po sa sugarcane plantation. Nangyari po ito sa Negros Oriental Ikaw po na nakakita po sa newborn baby, may legal responsibility ka po to bring the child to proper authorities. Okay? Kasi pag di mo ginawa yan, abandonment of person in danger po. Okay? Pangalawa, pag ang isang bata po is considered to be lost, it is also your legal responsibility to bring back the child or to bring the child to a safe place. Okay? So, yan po ang abandonment of person in danger and abandonment of one's own victim. Okay? So, again warning sa lahat po ng mga motorista dyan, pag in unfortunate event, nakabangga po tayo, again, responsable natin po na mag-render ng assistance sa biktima. Okay? Sir, what if ganito po ang situation? Sir, si Pedro, mortal enemy niya si Juan. And then let us say, one day, nakita ni Pedro si Juan oozing with his own blood, dying, and asking for assistance coming from Pedro. Sabi ni Juan, Pedro, even though you hated me so much, can you help me? Ang tanong ngayon, pwede bang hindi magbigay ng assistance si Pedro on Juan considering that Juan has been considered to be his mortal enemy? Ang sagot po, talagang as per law dictates, Pedro must render assistance. Even though Juan is considered to be a immortal enemy. Kasi po, under the law, pag ang isang tao, mortal enemy man or hindi, pag ang isang tao needs your assistance, especially if the person is dying, wala ka pong magawa kundi dapat mag-render po ng assistance. Okay? So yun po ang dapat pong gawin. Okay? Next, abandoning a minor. Elements that the offender has the custody of a child. Ibig sabihin, ikaw yung may responsibility to have supervision over the child. That the child is under 7 years of age. That he abandons such child. And that he has no intent to kill the child when the latter is abandoned. So, ibig sabihin, ikaw yung may responsibility to give supervision. Especially yung mga yaya. Inabandon na yung bata. Okay? Less than 7 years old. Ano po ba ang kaso? Abandoning a minor. Pero ang abandonment po na tinutukoy dito does not mean momentary living of a child. Ano ibig sabihin ng momentary living of a child? For example, let us say, iniwanan mo yung bata, let us say, natutulog siya. Iniwanan mo ng several minutes para magtimpla ka ng gatas. Ang question, may abandoning a minor ba? Ang sagot, hindi. Dapat hindi po momentary living of a child, ha? Ang ibig sabihin dito, talagang umalis ka. Iniwan mo yung bata, okay? Tapos in a span of a period, that absence of yours could be something that could create danger on the part of the child. So, abandoning a minor. Pero pag momentarily lang yung pag-leave mo sa bata, lumabas ka lang para po magtimpla ng gatas, iniwan mo yung bata momentarily para magtimpla ng gatas. Nako, hindi po pasok yan sa abandoning a minor. Next, if the offender is the parent of the minor who is abandoned, he shall be deprived of parental authority. Yun po ang sabi ng batas. Ano ibig sabihin ng parental authority? Yung power mo over the child. Okay? So pag ama mismo or ina mismo ang gumawa, inabandon na yung bata, they shall be deprived of parental authority. Okay? Next, exploitation of minors. Kanina po is exploitation of child labor. Ngayon, exploitation of minors. Acts punished by causing any boy or girl under 16 to perform any dangerous feat such as balancing. Napakaisip po itong intindihin. Physical strength or contortion. The offender being any person, by employing child under 16 who are not children or descendants of the offender in exhibitions or acrobat, gymnast, rope walker. Ibig sabihin, na-apply po ito sa mga entertainment world. Okay? By employing any descendant under 12 dangerous exhibitions enumerated in the next preceding paragraph, by delivering a child under 16 gratuitously to any person following any of the callings enumerated in paragraph 2 or to any habitual vagrant or bigar. So, ibig sabihin, sa number 4 ako mag-concentrate. Ibig sabihin, may bata ka. Dineliver mo yung bata under the custody of a person para ang bata po makapag-perform ng begging. Okay? Being a bigar or being vagrant. That is not allowed under the law. By inducing any child under 16 to abandon the home of its ascendants, guardians, curators, or teachers to follow any person engaged in any of the callings mentioned in paragraph 2 or to accompany any habitual vagrant or bigar, the offender being any person. So, again, ang tingnan po natin dito is yung edad po ng isang bata because the provision of this provision po has no application if minor is 16 years old and above. Okay, pag 16 years old and above. Ang tinutukoy po dito mostly na provisions is below 16. Okay, pinasama mo yung below 16 sa isang tao who is considered to be a vagrant. Yung vagrant talagang palaboy-laboy lang or yung bigar. Okay? Or probably inallow mo yung bata mo to be part on any exhibition games considered to be very dangerous. Okay? So, exploitation of minor po yung kaso. Next, qualified trespass to dwelling. Elements, offender is a private person. He enters the dwelling of another and such entrance is against the latter's will. This is very easy to understand. Again, ang offender dito, private individual mga kadete ha. Pag public officer, the violation of domicile, na-discuss ko na po yan sa previous episode. Pag violation of domicile, so ibig sabihin, public officer ang nag-commit. Pero pag private, the qualified trespass to dwelling. Pero, ang provision po ito, na ito is not applicable on number 1, entrance is for the purpose of preventing harm to himself, the occupants, or a third person. Okay? Ibig sabihin, let us say, ang isang tao gusto niyang magbigti sa bahay niya. Tapos, pumunta yung mga kapitbahay and destroyed probably the door para at least hindi niya makonsummate yung suicidal act niya. So, ang pag-break sa door is not basically part of qualified trespass to dwelling. Kuha? Number 2, purpose is to render some service to humanity or justice. Let's say, for example, nasusunog yung bahay mo. Alright? Nasunog yung bahay mo. Tapos pumasok yung bumbero. Mag-file ka ba ng qualified trespass to dwelling? The answer is no. Kasi po, yung act po sa pagpasok ng isang bumbero is for some legal service or probably on justice. Let's say, may pumutok na baril sa bahay mo, pumasok yung police officer. Kasi po, he heard a gunshot. So basically, ang pagpasok niya is hindi po pasok dito. Yung hindi po siya qualified trespass to dwelling or hindi po violation of domicile. Next, place is a cafe, tavern, etc. while it is open. Pag open po. For example, restaurant, pag open siya, o di, pag pumasok yung isang tao, wala namang qualified trespass to dwelling yan. Pero pag close, ibang usapan na po yan. Okay? Next, these are examples of, dilagyan ko po para at least mas maintindihan po. Examples of trespass by means of violence. Pushing the door violently and maltreating the occupants after entering. This is very understandable. Cutting of a ribbon or string with which the door or latch of a closed door was fastened. The cutting of the fastening of the door was an act of violence. For example, ang isang door wala siyang let's say wala siyang padlock. Ang ginawa is just a rope, and the rope has been bind within the corners of the door para at least hindi wala makapasok. Pero kinat mo yung rope, basically it's an act of violence. Wounding by means of a bolo the owner of the house immediately after entrance. Examples of trespass by means of intimidation. Una po, firing a revolver in the air by a person attempting to force their way into the house. Number 2, flourishing of a bolo against inmates of the house upon gaining an entrance. Pasok po yan sa trespass by means of intimidation. Now, owners may be guilty of trespass if, ganito po ha, sir, may mga pagkakataon ba na ang isang owner ng isang building, pwede siyang maging liable ng qualified trespass to dwelling kasi sa kanya yan yung building, pwede ba siyang maging liable? In certain cases, pwede po siyang liable. This only applies to boarding houses and apartments. Okay? Apartments po or boarding houses wherein there is a presence of a lessor. Yung nagre-rent. Okay? So, pag ikaw yung nagre-rent ng isang room, tapos pumasok yung owner, even without your permission, then pwede po siyang liable. Yung owner liable po siya ng qualified trespass to dwelling. Okay? So, ma-apply lang po ito in certain buildings po na may nagre-renta. Alright? Next. The other one is, what else? The other one is other form of trespass. Okay? Other form of trespass. Una po, that the offender enters the closed premises or the fence estate of another. Ang nakalagay dito closed dapat, ibig sabihin, dapat may may fence ka. Okay? May fence dapat. Pag open kasi siya, hindi po siya maisali dito sa other form of trespass. Number 2, that the entrance is made while either of them is uninhabited. Number 3, that the prohibition to enter be manifested. Ibig sabihin, dapat may nakalagay na no trespassing. Big sign stating no trespassing. Number 4, that the trespasser has not secured the permission of the owner or the caretaker thereof. So, dapat pasok ang 1, 2, 3, 4 na elements. Okay? Pag usually common po ito sa ating public may nakalagay nga no trespassing pero wala namang fence. Okay? So basically, pag pumasok ang isang tao sa area na yan, hindi po siya liable ng trespassing considering po na ang perimeter niya is hindi may establish. So paano po i-establish yung perimeter? Dapat may fence po dapat. Okay? Now, sa grave threat, mga kaditi, tatlong elements lang yan. Una po, you're threatening a person. You're threatening a person or against the owner of the person or against the property of a person. You're threatening him. The purpose of the threatening could be on a matter of demanding a money or probably there is a condition. Let us say, for example, pag hindi ka sumayaw, papatayin kita. That's basically a grave threat. Or probably, if you will not sign this document, next week, I will shoot you. That's basically an example of grave threat. Now, na-attain mo yung purpose, ang purpose, under number 1, ang purpose is to demand a money or to comply with the condition. Na-attain man yan, or under number 2, hindi po na-attain, pasok pa din po sa grave threat. Dapat po ang threat na yan is an act that could amount to crime. Okay? For example, pag ang threat, sabi, patayin kita pag hindi ka magpirma, that's a grave threat. Yung threat na ginawa is something. Yung pagpatay amounts to crime, right? Pero pag ang threat does not amount to crime, ay wala pong grave threat. Let's say, for example, sabihin niya ngayon, pag magpirma ka sa dokumento, pag magpirma ka sa dokumento, ang gagawin ko, bibigyan kita ng 5,000. Ang pagbigay ng 5,000, is it an act that constitutes a crime? The answer is no. So, walang grave threat. Wala naman sigurong taong takot na mabigyan ng 5,000, di ba? So, another example, pag sabihin ng isang tao, pag magpirma ka sa dokumento, ang gagawin ko, sasayaw ako sa public. Ang pagsayaw sa public, is it something that constitutes a crime? The answer is no. So, walang grave threat. Again, dapat po ang threat constitute a crime. Let us say, patayin kita pag di ka magpirma. Or, barilin ko yung asawa pag di ka magpirma. Or, I will cause damage on your property pag di ka magpirma. Or, probably, sabihin niya ngayon, pag hindi ka magpirma sa document, labas ko yung sex scandal mo. That's basically conditions amounting to crime. So, pasok po siya sa grave threat. Now, another example, challenging a person into a gunfight. Okay? Or into something like, not a gunfight. Ang common ngayon sa mga bukid is by means of a bolo. Fighting with a bolo. So, pasok po siya sa grave threat. Sabihin niya kayo, pag hindi ka lumabas dyan, nako, patayin kita. So, it's a grave threat. Or, challenging. Basically, challenging somebody into a fight. It could be a grave threat. Pero, how about, sir, if a person is absent? O, sabihin niya ngayon, paki-inform kay Pedro na on this particular day, dapat magbabarilan kami. It's basically a grave threat even if the person being challenged is absent when the threat has been made. Okay? Now, how about, let us say, ito po yung pinaka-tricky na question sa board examination. What if, let us say, may isang tao bringing with him, let us say, a cell phone. Tapos, here comes the other guy. Kukuha siya ngayon ng baril. Sabihin niya ngayon, barilin kita pag hindi mo binigay ang cellphone na yan. Barilin kita pag hindi mo binigay yung cellphone. May threat, di ba? Yung pagbaril is an act of a crime that constitutes a crime. But in that situation, if the demand is on the spot or spontaneous, barilin kita pag hindi mo binigay yung cellphone na yan. Ang krimen po is hindi grave threat, but rather robbery with intimidation. Okay. Pero pag-ibahin po natin ang situation, mga kadete. Let's say, for example, pumunta ka sa bahay ng isang tao, sinabihan mo, pag hindi mo ibigay ang cellphone on Friday, next month, babarilin kita. In that case, pasok po siya sa grave threat. So, pag on the spot spontaneous, barilin kita, bigay mo yung cellphone mo, barilin kita. Ang krimen po is robbery with intimidation. Pero pag hindi spontaneous, hindi po on the spot yung demand, basically, ang krimen po is grave threat. Okay? So, pag sinabihan mo ang isang tao, bigay mo yung cellphone mo on Friday, hindi po yun on the spot. Pero pag bigay mo yung cellphone mo ngayon. Pag hindi mo ibinigay, babarilin kita. That's robbery. Pero pag hindi siya on the spot, yun po ang point ha. Pag hindi on the spot yung demand, basically, grave threat po yung kaso. Okay? Next, how about light threats? Ano naman ang light threats? That the offender makes a threat to commit a wrong, that the wrong does not constitute a crime, that there is a demand for money or that other condition is imposed, even though not unlawful. Note, in light threats, the wrong threatened does not amount to crime. In grave threats, the act threatened amount to a crime. Example of this one is blackmailing. Okay? Blackmailing may be punished under this provision. The harm threatened must not be in the nature of a crime, and there is a demand for money or any other conditions is imposed even though lawful. Kanina, I made mention na pag ang isang threat, isang condition, does not constitute to a crime, wala pong grave threat na mangyayari. Ang example ko po kanina, sabi ko, pag permahan mo po yung dokumento na ito, sasayaw ako in public. Ang pagsasayaw po sa publiko, hindi po siya krimen, hindi po siya grave threat. Pero, pag ang threat po, although considered to be unlawful, pero ang threat na yan is something that could be considered as disadvantageous on the part of the victim, then magiging pasok po siya not on the grave but on the light threat. Example nito, very common, is considered to be blackmailing. Ano ba itong blackmailing? Let us say, for example, pag hindi ka pipirma, hindi kita ipo-promote. That's an example of blackmailing, right? So, ang blackmailing, even though hindi kita i-promote, is not an act that constitutes a crime, but is considered to be disadvantageous on the part of the victim, then light threat could be your crime. Or light threat is the crime being committed. Okay? Kuha po ba ang difference sa example na binigay ko po kanina? Again ha, pero pag ang situation, sasayaw ako. Or bibigyan kita ng 5,000 pesos pag magpirma ka. O nagpirma nga yung tao, binigyan ng 5,000. O sumayaw yung nagbigay ng condition. May grave threat ba? Wala. May life threat ba? Wala. May life threat pag nagba-blackmail ka. Next is other life threats. Now, iba po ang other life threats with grave threats at saka yung life threats. Sa grave at saka sa life threats, dapat present po yung element ng condition or demand for money. Okay? For example, kanina sabi ko, pag hindi mo pinirmahan yan, babarilin kita. So, may condition. Okay? Present ang condition or present yung element sa pag-demand ng money. For example, bigyan mo ako ng 5,000, pag hindi ka magbigay, babarilin ka. Demand for money po yan. So, may condition sa life threat at saka sa grave threat. Pero sa other life threats, ito lang po yung mga threats, pananakot po na ginagawa po on the spite of anger, on the time of anger. Yung spur of moment po. Okay? For example, nag-aaway kayo. Gusto mong ipakita na mas superior ka, na matatakot yung tao. So, kumuha ka ngayon ng .45 caliber firearm. O other life threats po, pasok siya. Or, on the heat of anger, you orally threaten a person. Or by orally threatening another with harm not constituting a felony. Let's say, for example, talagang babarilin kita. During the heat of anger, dapat walang conditions kasi pag may conditions yan, magiging pasok siya sa light or sa grave threat. Pero pag walang conditions, nag-argue kayo, kumuha ka ng .45 caliber firearm, unless pag self-defense. So, hindi siya pasok. Pero kung hindi naman self-defense, para maipakita mo lang na ikaw yung bida-bida sa argument na yan, ikaw yung superior, kumuha ka ng, nagdi-display ka ng .45 caliber firearm, ay nako, other life threats po yan. Okay? So, yun po ang pagkaiba sa other life threats with grave and life threats. Next, grave coercion. That a person prevented another from doing something not prohibited by law. Or letter B, compel him to do something against his will, be it right or wrong. So, napakasimple yung element number 1. Ibig sabihin, ikaw yung tao, you coerce or you force somebody to perform an act that is against his will. Okay? Number 2, violence, threats, or intimidation, either material force or such display of force as would produce intimidation and control of the will without authority of the law. Okay? So, magiging grave coercion po yan. Now, in the previous episode, may situation ako na inilagay that I made mention. Ang situation po ganito. Let us say, si Mr. Congressman, nagdala siya ng, let us say, 5 bodyguards with M16. M16 with rifles. Pumunta sila sa bahay ni Pedro, sinabihan si Pedro, Pedro, pirmahan mo yan. This document is a deed of sale. Deed of sale, ikaw na magpapatunay na ikaw, Pedro, bininta mo yung lupa mo, 1 hectare piece of land to me in the amount of 100 pesos per square meter. Of course, Pedro will have to sign it. He has no choice. Why? Because kasi po, pag hindi ka magpirma niyan, babarilin ka. So, in that case, walang grave coercion po na nangyayari, but rather may robbery po. Robbery yung nangyayari dyan. Now, in this case po, sa grave coercion, para mas maintindihan, ang isang tao allowed him to perform a certain act, and that act is against the will of the victim. But then again, the victim has no choice but to perform it. Kasi pag hindi siya magpe-perform, may violence may threats may intimidation Sabihin ngayon ng isang tao, pag hindi ka sasayaw, andito yung mga guards ko, the guards will strangle you up. So the person has no choice, sasayaw siya kahit hindi niya gusto. In that case, may grave coercion po na nangyayari. Okay? So, dapat without the authority of law po. Okay? Next. Pag may grave coercion, may light coercion po tayo. Number 1, offender must be a creditor. Ano ba yung creditor? Yung nagpapautang. Number 2, he seizes anything belonging to his debtor. Kinuha niya ngayon yung property sa taong nangutang sa kanya. The seizure of the thing be accomplished by means of violence or a display of material force producing intimidation. So, the purpose of the offender is to apply the same to the payment of the debt. Ang ganito po kasi, pag walang voluntariness yan on the part of the debtor, yung nag-utang, to surrender his property as a means of payment, magka-problema tayo. Okay? Pag pumunta yung creditor doon, kinuha na lang basta-basta yung television, yung sala set, kinuha na lang basta-basta yung refrigerator, yung piano, yung organ, kung ano-ano may yung property na nandyan, without the voluntariness of the debtor, magka-problema tayo, may light coercion. Especially if it is done by violence or display of material force. Pero kung ang debtor mismo, yung palautang mismo, ang nagsasabi na, Oy, Mr. Creditor, wala na akong pambayad sa'yo, pwede ba ito na lang refrigerator ang kunin mo? In that case, wala pong light coercion. Mangyayari ang light coercion again pag walang voluntariness o violence, display of material force, ayaw ng palautang na magbayad, kinuha mo by force yung property niya, nako, light coercion yan. Next, unjust vexation. Ito this crime, I consider this one as a catch basin on other acts that cannot be qualified in some other criminal definition or in other definition of crime. Ito yung catch basin Ang point sa unjust vexation is that may particular act and that act hindi siya pasok sa other crimes mentioned in the previous or succeeding titles. Pero ang act na yan is something that could annoy or vex an innocent person. Let us say, for example, peeping Tom. Okay? Peeping Tom. Naliligo yung babae, ikaw namang butakal ka or ikaw yung sexual addict, gumawa ka ng isang butas para doon ka magmumonitor sa movement ng isang babae na naliligo sa CR. In that case, pwede po unjust vexation. Pasok din po dito yung mga uninvited pranks at saka yung mga jokes that can cause discomfort or unease to another person. Okay? So, pwede po yung mga pranks na yan. that could annoy or could vex the victim, pwede pong makapag-file kayo ng unjust vexation. The acts of embracing, kissing of a woman arising either out of passion or other motive, and the touching of her breast as mere incident of the embrace without lewd design constitute merely unjust vexation. Pag hinalikan mo yung babae kasi crush mo, tapos in the act of kissing, you touch the breast of that woman without manyak element. Pag walang manyak element yan, walang lewd design or sexual design, ay pasok lang po yan sa unjust vexation. Pag ang babae po has been annoyed, pero pag gusto naman ng babae, hindi okay lang yan. Kasi nangyayari po ito sa eskwelahan eh. Isang lalaki at saka yung babae working on a particular project. Yung lalaki started on a topic about sex scandal. Kumagat yung babae, na-arouse sexually yung lalaki. So, ang ginawa ng lalaki, hinalikan niya yung babae, touching the breast. Nako, pasok ka ngayon sa acts of lasciviousness kasi may lewd design na yan, may pagkamanyak na yan eh. Pero pag hiwala lang, you just touch the lady, touch the breast, or probably kissing the lady out of your emotional feeling towards her. Talagang walang manyak thing or low design, unjust vexation po yung crime. The same manner, mga kadete, pag you kept on following a person without his consent or without any reason at all, you're just making you're just shadowing or tailing the person all the time and it annoys the person, pwede pong makapag-file ang tao na tinatawag nating unjust vexation. Alright? So yun na po ang mga krimen under crimes against personal liberty and security. I-continue po natin yung Title 10 ha. Title 10 pa po tayo next up until Title 14. Maraming salamat po sa pagtangkilik sa Bitcoin. No? I hope I was able to contribute on your journey towards towards being a licensed or registered criminologist, and I hope I was able to contribute also sa preparation nyo in the board examination. Maraming salamat po. God bless and God bless everyone po.